On November 1st, 1755, 9:40 a.m., Lisbon was struck with a series of disasters that created an opportunity for a revival rather than a clean slate. The events that transpired from the disaster not only altered the city fabric, but also sent a cultural and rational ripple across Europe and the rest of the world. An earthquake with a magnitude of 8.5, an engulfing tsunami with waves reaching heights of 20 feet flooded the city. Subsequently, fires persisted for 6 days due to the fact that it was All Saints' Day, an important religious holiday where citizens lit candles in honor of the dead. After the city was reduced to rubble, the recomposition began, or rather, an assembly of fragments.
The city of Lisbon was built upon layers of history and a longingness for the past that continues to resonate throughout time. Longing not only serves as a form of reminiscing, but also as an architectural tool for transcending boundaries. Therefore, the question arises, how does this architectural tool coexist with the modern city of Lisbon? And more specifically, how can it be used to acknowledge what is there and what was lost? By acknowledging the coexistence of past and present timelines, a cognitive map of the city emerges. This map reveals the reverberations felt across multiple timelines, allowing its users to navigate through Lisbon's metaphysical memories. An urban and topographical analysis of the city of Lisbon uncovers the key differences between the typologies of the plans pre- and post-1755. The city of Lisbon pre-1755 carried a fabric composed of irregularity that connected public served spaces with narrow roads. Churches are seen scattered throughout the city, creating a sense of monarchical hierarchy. The plan was ultimately one of the reasons why the disaster was so catastrophic. What remained from Lisbon was a collection of debris with thousands of years of history that was reduced to rubble in just a couple of minutes. Transformed out of chaos, the new Lisbon fabric was designed in an orthogonal planning system. This system, proposed by ruling Chief Minister Marquis de Pombal, alongside designer Eugenio dos Santos. Together, they were tasked with the reconstruction of the heart of the city, known as the Baixa. The new city center had a stronger connection to commerce over religion and had a high disregard for previous property boundaries. The new urban conditions of the city ultimately depict the undertone that veils the grids and proportions at work.
The core of Lisbon's urban fabric reveals a cohesive order composed of grids. When further analyzing the planar grid, we come to realize that the city is symmetrical and bases its proportions around public served spaces. The Baixa conveys structure and order as seen through the construction of the new Pombalino buildings. These buildings were designed with a caged, cross-braced timber system infilled with rubble from pre-1755 Lisbon. The reassembly of fragments imbues the coexistence of old and new Lisbon. The architecture behind these structures acted as a foundation for the streets of New Lisbon. These streets of the new Baixa manifest spaces of remembrance and gathering for the inhabitants of the grid. Named after saints, guilds, and churches that were lost in the earthquake, these streets portray a way of commemorating the past. Lisbon is made up of layers of a history that provokes an entanglement between fragments of pre-1755 held together by the structure of the modern city. Therefore, can this entanglement be architecturally influenced and traced to recollect the memories that were once embedded within the city fabric? Influenced by Fernando Pessoa, a famous Portuguese poet of the 20th century, in his book of Disquiet he writes, "To think, yes, even to think is to act. Only in absolute daydreams where no activity intervenes, where all consciousness of ourselves gets terminally stuck in the mud. Only there, in that warm, damp state of non-being, can one truly abandon all action."
Fernando Pessoa's personified view of Lisbon through memories and recollections allow us to look at the city's past and present as one single entity. The Baixa, as this single entity, is where most of the destruction occurred during the disaster of 1755, and where the rebuilding of the new city center took place. It is where we believe that most of the memories and recollections of the city lie. This embodiment of toponymy at play in the new plan is displaced as an architectural matrix. The reorganization of the city was highly influenced by the previous medieval system of politics, religion, and economics to help shape the new city center. Using street names as tools for visualizing memories, we uncover architectural components serving as nodes. The nodes depicted within different intersections, stories, people, and languages reveal a plan as told by history and the recollections of the past and present. These depictions reimagine the city lost in time following the disaster of 1755. Through perceived architectural landscapes, these compositions of memories are able to coexist with the proposed grid for New Lisbon. The memories that make up these tilings end up becoming the metaphysical fragments of longing and time. By understanding the memories and recollections within the grid of Lisbon, we begin to theorize on the idea of assembly and disassembly. The essence of the city is still there, although it has undergone physical change. Using the street names relevant to post-1755 Lisbon, the artifacts that emerge from pragmatic entities of reconstruction integrate the use of figures or props to set the stage for recognizing Lisbon's deconstructive and reconstructive identity. This notion of assembly and disassembly generates a feeling of longing, otherwise known as saudade. Saudade morphs the city's past and present fragments into a single assembly that is reminiscent of Lisbon's cultural identity. Saudade physically embodies an architectural armature that reconnects the dispersed fragments of pre-1755 disaster in Lisbon with the post-rearrangement of the city. Saudade ends up being an assembly of embroidered lines that function as strings of thought, each one with its own particular purpose and specific direction, piercing through the city fabric. They begin to talk to one another and intersect at different points within the grid, creating a physical connection between memories and displacing fragments.
These memories have been scattered throughout Lisbon and continue to persist throughout time. Memories have become physical, a compilation of densities arriving towards the framework of anticipation, in turn generating a paradoxical setting held together by the metastructure of saudade. Although these fragments have been scattered, they are not random. These fragments still coincide with the grid fabric of the city and long for order. However, the armature that enables saudade counters the grid and lives within its own parameters and sets of rules. These fluid and continuous connections travel with a degree of disorder within the system. By tracing these connections and generating these metastructures, an archaeological discovery of Lisbon is revealed. These archaeological nodes and frameworks across timelines are bridged to the notion of saudade. The aftermath and the transformation of the city exerts an exercise of power in which grids and order bring upon new rationalist ideas. In the midst of collapse, caught in time and longing for place, the armature that embeds itself within the city pulls at the boundaries of the grid. The framework of recollections that emerge from saudade reveals a space that counters the grid by generating obstructions that grow over time. Threads of fragmented memories become embroidered within Lisbon, causing tension and moments of loose connections. A walk through the inhabited armature of saudade allows for an experience in a surreal environment of constant longing, in which the armature and its physical environment clash, exposing a disaster that will never cease to exist.